In the dark, dark tomb there was a dark, dark street, and in the dark, dark street there was a dark, dark office. In the dark, dark office there were some dark, dark stairs, and down the dark, dark stairs there was a dark, dark room, and in the dark, dark room was where the worst wrestling tropes go to die.
Hello everybody, I am Ross Tweddle from Cultaholic Wrestling and welcome to the latest thrilling installment of Straight to Hell. This is the show, of course, where my guest, who is that thing there, he has a list of pet peeves about the world of professional wrestling, and we're going to send those pet peeves down to hell to rot for the rest of eternity. Now this gentleman right here is brand new.
A bit of a pause there. This gentleman.
Rick right here is Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and I'm going to make you feel sick.
Right, okay.
Right off the bat, because come November, we've known each other for 7 years.
I was thinking this last night. I don't know why it popped into my head, but I was like, it's been 7 years since I started doing videos and stuff on the internet.
It makes you feel sick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Death is closer than we
Nearly
think.
a decade, mate. And we've been married.
It's been quite a journey through the last 7 years for me and Sam. Oh, God. Anyway, the first thing I want to do is have a tattoo tour with you, Sam.
Yes.
Can you take me around your body and tell me what they mean?
Yes, so I've got a load of Twin Peaks tattoos on this arm, which is kind of there. So it's just various things from the show. And then I've got a little Bun-chan. Oh, where is he? There. From Yakuza. Just one of the cutest little... He's a Java Sparrow, Ross.
A Java Sparrow?
I've got a Stag Beetle. I've got a sad girl with a little devil talking in her ear. Everybody thinks that's a present. It's not. It's supposed to be the stack of cards from the film Glengarry Glen Ross. Alec Baldwin gives a very impassioned speech to these house salesmen that can't do their jobs in his eyes. And he comes down and he gives the whole, how much, this watch costs more than your car and all of this stuff. And he really, talks down to them. But he pulls out a stack of cards and he goes these are the new leads. These are the Glengarry leads, and to you they're gold. And he kind of talks down to them. But it's sort of the whole meaning of that speech is to just always do your hardest at whatever you do. That's what I took from it. It's a very polarizing speech. Some people think it's just pure evil, but I don't know. It inspired me to just not stop working. I've got the Delphic Oracle tattooed up here because I'm from a Greek family. Yeah, I've had that for ages. It's like the second or third one I ever had done. I've got Johnny Cash here. I've got...
Take your pants off, come on.
I think they're too tight. I think they're too tight. Hold on.
We can just flash your pictures if you want.
No, let's get the clothes off for everybody at home.
Woo! Bit of calf action.
So I've got Bret Hart on the front of my shin. This is really hard to see. I've got Bret Hart on the front of my shin. I've got Ralph Wiggum on the side. I've got Goro Majima from Yakuza on the back. I've got... now we get to the inside of the leg. This is where it gets really strange. I've got a little scoop boot and I've got a Shiba. And then on the other leg, I've got a giant eating a baby.
A giant eating a baby?
Yeah.
Why?
So basically, Zeus and all that.
Yeah.
There you go. Zeus, his dad was a guy called Kronos. Kronos was the big god of time. He had loads of kids, and he was like, hang on, one day they're going to grow up and they're going to eat me. They're going to destroy me. They're going to take over. So he's like, nope, and he eats all the kids. But then they come back together in his stomach because they're gods, and then they cut their way out, and that's where the Greek pantheon comes from. But, yeah.
So your tattoos have meaning then?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them are just daft decisions.
Aye. I did a video I just looked at hours of footage of CM Punk's torso.
Yeah.
And he's a firm believer that all your tattoos should mean something, because that means you believe in something so strongly you get it inked on your skin.
I do think that to a degree. I also think they should be sort of chronicles of your life. So just things you like and things that you used to like and stuff that maybe you don't like anymore. You kind of forget about something, you remember it. So I'm getting, for instance, my left leg is my silly leg, so I'm getting Patrick with his little jar of mayonnaise. He doesn't have a jar of mayonnaise in the episode, but from SpongeBob where it's is mayonnaise an instrument? I want that tattooed on me. I'm probably going to get some sort of big back piece, I don't know what, but yeah, I think, if you're going to get it done, everybody kind of... The first tattoo's always, I don't know what to get. And
I'm getting the itch, Sam.
Just get anything for the first one. Just get something small, go pick something nice, go look at a flash book, and just be like, I like that, I'll have that. Then you've had it done. But if you've got a strong idea in mind, go get that done first, because your first tattoo, you're full of adrenaline, and it kind of works in your favor. so you can kind of put up with the pain a little bit more because it's all a bit exciting and a bit new.
Where's the hurtiest place then?
Foot sucked. Oh yeah, I've got Godzilla on my foot. Foot sucked really bad. Shins felt like somebody took a hammer to them for 2 weeks. And then the ditch in the elbow there, you've got just nerves. You've seen 127 Hours where he's cutting through and he hits the nerve and it's like, ah! So you've got that and you've got tendons. So like anything around here, your hand just starts doing this and going mental. But shin and feet, bad. I've not had my ribs done yet. I've not had obviously any face tattoos or anything like that.
Are you going to get a face tattoo?
Probably not. I think the furthest I would go is maybe hands if I was wealthy enough that I didn't have to work again, because unfortunately people are still very judgmental about people with tattoos. So I'm at the suit line right now, and then if I get money and I never have to work again, then I'll go on to hands and fingers maybe. I might get something on the temple that's hideable by growing the hair.
Growing the hair.
But I'm going to just wait and see how my hair pans out over the next 10 years or so, and then we'll go from there.
You could end up looking like Bam Bam Bigelow.
This is it, yeah. I don't want to end up, with tattooed on flame hair.
That's if you gave up Sam and just undid all your good work of the past year. Because, of course, we did that mukbang video not too long ago where we learned that Sam has lost 5 stone of man off your body.
Yeah, it's sort of, I think a pound off 5 stone.
How?
I tried everything. Like, you know what it's like. Like, we've spoke about this before, and like, it's like, oh, we should try this. Oh, we should try. I tried every single fad, and like keto worked for a bit. And then keto just kind of, if you go off that, you bounce back even harder. And then, there's Huel, there's things like that. Ultimately, I've not even been to a gym yet. It's just all been diet and managing calories and just really trying to get it down. Not to like an unhealthy level, like just making sure that I'm hitting a nice target every day or thereabouts. Not being super strict all the time. Like I kind of try and do 2 weeks on, 1 week a bit more lax where I might have a beer on an evening or something, and just sort of let myself plateau a little bit and then go again, then plateau and go again. But so far it's worked, and it's been mental because like I look back and I don't know, like it's just sort of you look back and you see pictures and it's like, God, like
you don't realize, do you?
No, and it was like I really was at like rock bottom mentally and physically, and that was it. And I was just like, right, if I can't control anything, I'm just going to control something, and that was it. So it was just like, right, I'm going to get really, really like particular about my intake, and I've got still like 3-4 stone to go, but now it's fun gym time, and I'm fairly sure you're going to wrangle me into some sort of heinous, come and work on this machine now.
Not at all, Sam. I go and I stick to myself. I keep me cell and just cower away in the corner.
Yeah.
You just got it's that mental barrier of like, there's massive like Batista's over there.
It's hard.
John Cena's over there. Yeah. I'm going to go over there and show them what's for.
Yeah.
It's getting that mental barrier and breaking it down. But you can do it, man.
I can do it.
You just got to just block these people out.
That's
We're all there
it.
for the same reason.
You just got to go to it and do it, and that's that.
Yeah. It's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to you on your adventure and like moving forward, and you're hitting the gym like an absolute unit, mate.
I'm still my calories are still high. So I'll tell you what, I'm getting hencher.
Yeah.
But the fats,
I was going to say you're looking a bit
down
like tighter.
Yeah, tighter. But the cutting of the calories happens in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that'll be when hopefully I just go.
Yeah.
And then I look like you a bit more.
That's when you get. That's when you're going to start hitting the gym, and it's like, oh God, I'm dying. But you'll be all right once you power through.
That's the big thing though. When the first couple of weeks, the DOMS.
Yeah.
Oh, the delayed onset muscle stiffness, soreness, whatever the hell it's called.
I got shin splints. I remember last time I got really serious about gymming, and I never really ran loads, but about a good maybe like 8-9 years ago when I got really into running, I know, hard to believe I ever fell off, but I got really into it, and I would go to the gym and I'd run. I'd try and run home or do whatever I could, but yeah, like after about 3 straight weeks of going to the gym like 4 days a week and running home or doing whatever, I just couldn't walk, and my shins were on fire, and it was like, yeah, you got shin splints, and it was like, and I couldn't go up and down the stairs.
It's a wonderful feeling, isn't it?
A whole ordeal.
Yeah. Just like all the muscles in the front of
like,
your shins have pulled.
It was just like 2 weeks, you just can't do anything. And I was like, what do you mean I can't do anything for 2 weeks?
What, you got told you couldn't do anything?
It was like, he's like, you can't go to the gym and you can't exacerbate the problem. So it's like, you can just sort of mill about your everyday life, and if you can kind of, do stuff with your upper body, yeah, but just avoid messing with your shins. And it
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
okay.
Because I was walking to work, which is like a 2-mile walk along the quayside, and then
Yeah.
going to the gym as well. So I had like shin splints and just thought, oh, it'll go.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I would walk, but I was just walking a bit slower because I couldn't go any
That
quicker.
was it. Yeah, I was walking like Cotton Hill from King of the Hill, where he's like that, and he has no knees. But it's I don't know, man. Like it really, really, really annoyed me because it was just like just as I was getting somewhere, just as I was getting into it, really getting going, it was like, nope, sit down.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it, when you get to a certain age and you just think, because I always think when I got my shin splints and the DOMs and all that, I was just like a crippled mess.
Yeah.
I used to play football for like 90 minutes and not be
Well,
fine, just be fine.
we
Used to go
used to-
swim multiple times a
We
week
used to
and
go
be fine.
skate like every night of the week for like at least 3-4 hours, and then we'd go out on weekends. We'd go to like, you know, on an adventure. We'd go to Hexham or South Shields or like a different skate park. But we'd be out all day, and if we just didn't eat like crap, we'd be like this. But because we ate like crap all day, because we were out all day, it was just,
So if I could go back to being 16, I would just tell that young man, just don't drink.
that was the
don't
thing.
drink.
That's the thing. Like drinking, especially for me, became like not like a problem, but it just became the source of a lot of calorific gain.
That was socialising when you were when you hit 16.
Yeah.
You could go out and get away with it and get into clubs underage.
Oh, yeah,
'cause you looked
yeah.
a bit older. You just go out and drink. Then the day after, you have a stinking hangover. You try and bat it off, but then you go and get a big fat greasy takeaway.
Yeah.
And the process will just continue.
And
then
you might have even had a takeaway the night before as well when
Yeah.
you were drunk. And then on top of that, you know, if you have things like work stress that can compound into just like, I'm going to go drink 4 nights a week. And, you know, I think everybody's been there a little bit. But, yeah, it like drinking, I think through lockdown, I realized like I drink a lot. I'm like cutting down. So like I'm back down to 1 night a week, which even then is apparently weird. There was like a Reddit thread I saw recently on like, it was like Ask UK or something. But it was an American who watches like British TV shows. So everybody keeps saying they're going to nip to the pub. It's like, do you guys really just go to the pub for a pint? Like, how many times a week are you guys drinking? It's like, we're not drinking to get drunk. You just go to the pub to socialize. And
Yeah.
they just didn't get it. And it's like, well, if I went to a bar more than twice a week, I'd be seen as an alcoholic. And it's like, it's just the way of life here.
that is literally Newcastle in a nutshell. If you're not going a couple
Yeah.
of nights a week, there's something wrong with you.
Exactly. The city's built to drinking. That's
Aye.
it. That's all it's good for.
You mentioned hitting rock bottom there. Do you want to speak about that or not? Don't have to.
It's sort of like, it was more like, you know, I've made like a lot of poor choices, and you know, when you just sort of get to where you are and you snap out of it, and you're like, what the have you done? And you just sort of see everything for the first time, and then it's like, right, no, like never again. I'm never gonna like do this or be this person. I'm a type of person where like a lot of negativity really sticks with me, and I'm quite avoidant. And I find it hard to say no to people, and I find it hard to face confrontation. And so like I kind of just ended up in like just a horrific like just dip. And then you do kind of see a way out, and you're like, okay, and then you just got to slowly pull yourself back. But as I said, if there was like nothing else I could control what went through my mouth. And not in like a really sinister or like, I'm not going to eat anything or anything like that. It was just more like well, I'm so unhealthy, like physically and mentally. At least I can, you know, try and give myself a platform to work from. And then from there, it's, you know, being slowly trying to claw back, because it feels like, you know, when you get to a point like that, it feels like you lose yourself completely, and then you come out of it, and it's like you almost like you're not like aware of it as it's going on, and then you come out the back of it like, Jesus, like I don't remember any of that, or what was I on, like what am I doing? And yeah, you eventually see it, but then it's like you use that to resolve to never be that way again, I guess. That's the realization you need to make, otherwise it just repeats. And as I said, with me and negativity, it sort of clouds me. I've always been a bit of a worrier. You know, for yourself, whenever it's in the office, it's like, this is great. And I'm like,
Oh,
but
no.
what if this?
Constant
What if
state
this?
of worry this job. It's like it is. I've said this on a video we did a while ago about the assumptions about the company. It's like it's literally one thing from WWE. If they change their stance on pictures, company's gone.
Yeah,
If YouTube changes their stance on wrestling,
It's a
company's
very
gone.
delicate situation, and you know it does cause a lot of stress. And stress and stress management is what's caused me to kind of make the realizations I've made, because I wasn't handling it properly. And you know, it just enters a point where you you're in this ball of negativity and you just want to claw yourself out of it, but you don't really know you're in it. You're just there to be bitter, and you're there to just be, somebody who you just don't want to invite to any parties. And you become that guy. And you just can't be that way. And, I've tried to resolve, and especially people like Tom in particular has helped a lot with, whoever pulled the rib and put us on morning news together, because I am the least morning-y person usually. Tom is the most morning-y person, but I think even through working with Tom, it's been like just that kick of positivity where it's like, you know what, things aren't that bad, everything's not crap, things might be all right, and as long as you're like decent and you treat people properly from now on and you behave properly from now on, you can get back to being yourself. And then when you start to see yourself come back, you're like, So it's like me and my mate, instead of drinking, it's not worked too much so far, but like as I said, we picked back up skateboards. And it's ridiculous. I'm 30 years old. I shouldn't be on a skateboard. I shouldn't be anywhere near one. But like we went back to the skate park. We used to skate in as kids. And it just, that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm going to come in one day and I'm going to be all bandaged up for sure. Because the first thing that happened when we got there was he hit the floor, just went, pushed, and just hit a rock and went, and that was it, just still lying face flat. And I was like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah." But
what was that process like then for you to turn the proverbial ship around? Because I still, people know watching this, I had that break last year, and I still feel a tremendous amount of guilt about that. Because taking
you shouldn't ever
8 weeks off in a pandemic was
I understand that there are feelings of guilt when it comes to it, and I myself have been, especially times where it's like I haven't done any work today, or I've not done this.
Some days you can't.
And I'm just sat there like looking at this edit going, why can't I work out what needs to go in this gap? And then 2 days later it's like, oh, it's that. It's one of those things where I feel like I'm kind of on a good track right now, but I'm sure there's going to be times where it's tested, because it's just one of those things where day by day, anything can happen, as we've said. And stress in particular just sets me off on a path of just... But if I'm able to stay grounded, and I've got an amazing partner, like she just understands fully, and she's like fully on board with supporting the things that I'm going through, and having that support there really helps. And I know I've got somebody else there who, if I am unable to see that I need that, will damn sure make sure I get that help. So that's the big thing, is being, as you said, I've got a new, incredible, amazing partner, and that has been also quite a lot of the impetus to kind of get everything going. I want to be around as long as I can now. I don't want to be a miserable person, and I want to think the things I used to think about myself, or how I'd end up. But I'm I've got to come to terms with that every day, and I've got to try and live as much as I can and enjoy life more, because all too many times I'll just sit on the couch and do nothing. And it's like, but I've got so much I can be doing. Even if I am just sat on the couch, I can be sat painting, or I can be sat doing this, or I can be sat learning a new language, or I can do whatever I want. I've just got to, I think I deal with structure better than sort of no structure. So if I have the time at the start of the week, it's like, right, Wednesday you're going to do this, Thursday you're on stream, then you're going to get in and you're going to watch this, and then Friday you're going to do this, and then Saturday this is happening. And then I can kind of get it all in a neat little line and get it all together, and I'd be like, right, I know what I'm doing. It's the weeks where I don't really have the time, when we've had pay-per-views where it's like, oh, let's watch Peep Show for the 40th time.
It's interesting how we all deal with stuff like that in different ways, isn't it, though? But I think that the main sort of the common ground on it all is you got to just open up, haven't you, to somebody, anything.
And like anything at all, like even if you just staring at yourself and telling yourself this in the mirror is better than letting it sit there in your brain and fester. So long as you're not, chastising yourself and you're being open. But you've got to, you have to take that step eventually, and you have to tell somebody, and nobody's going to react the way you think they're going to react. Nobody's going to, look down on you for needing that help at all. People are just going to want you to have the most help possible.
You're never a burden, are you?
No,
that was a big thing to me. You think you are a burden.
Yeah, you feel like by just opening up, and you feel like you're just dropping your issues on somebody else rather than letting them help you carry it. And that's how it is. They're just kind of propping you up a bit rather than taking it all off you so you can have a breather and then giving you it back. It's more, it's like a communal thing. Like you and these people become like a circle of trust, and you just kind of help each other.
Yeah, there you go. Speak to someone. If you sat there, like we were for the longest time, to speak to someone. Now, I need to just shift gears a bit, Sam.
Yes.
By looking down here, because back on the February the 9th episode...
I forgot you did straight
of Straight to Hell. Back in 2020, I had Jack the Jobber on, and I did a bit of a Rosmopolitan quiz, which is a combination of something I lifted off Cosmopolitan Magazine's website and a few questions of my own. Therefore, Rosmopolitan. I'm going to do the same thing to you, Sam.
Rosmopolitan,
It's
okay.
a quick fire
Yes.
Rosmopolitan quiz to get to know Sam a little bit better. Because I was saying back then, we've known each other for 7 years.
I know.
How much more new stuff can we say about each other?
It's like we see each other at work every day. It's like, oh, we should hang out. And then it'll get to like, oh, yeah, we'll do something
Just
Thursday.
speak about work.
And then, yeah, we'll either hang out and just speak about work. We'll get to Thursday night, 9 o'clock, message each other and be like, oh, hang on, we were supposed to go out.
So the Cosmopolitan quiz I've gone for here is questions to ask your partner when you think you know everything there is to them.
Right.
So here we go, quick fire. Would you want to live forever?
Oh. No, but, you know, it's certainly something that would be interesting to see.
Likewise. What's the biggest hardship you've ever overcome?
Oh. I lost a business, actually, like in 2013, 2014. And me and my mate had invested a lot of time and effort into it. We had some good clients, and ultimately 3 clients didn't pay on time. Ooh. And then we had to fold the company, and then 2 days later they paid, which was just, it just sucked. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, it's all worked out, though.
Yeah. Well, from that, I wound up at the old place, and now we're here.
Yeah, now we're here 7 years later.
Yeah.
What's a strong opinion that you used to hold that turned out to be totally wrong? Now, there's an obvious answer to that one, which I didn't realise at the time when copy and pasting that Cosmopolitan quiz. But what's another one? Not the Dean Ambrose one.
Oh, what was the question again?
What's a strong opinion you used to hold that turned out to be totally wrong?
Okay. I used to be very tribalistic, and we're going to get onto that in a bit. I used to be very tribalistic about a lot of things, but it's because I was kind of, I was always being preached to about cool music from cool people who ultimately turned out to be dicks. And it was like, okay. And so you get like a very jaded view of things. So I used to be quite, not gatekeepy, but very like, this isn't cool, that's cool. And it's like, ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's cool to you, it's cool to you, screw it.
Fair point. What do you think happens after you die? I don't know what I've used this quiz.
I'd like for it to just be like, well, boom, there you go, you're born again. But I don't know. It could be eternal slumber. It could be just a big white room. It could just pop up with level 2. It could do anything. But I don't know. There's like a belief that hell is all of the.
Why have you said hell straight away, Sam?
Well, if you've looked in a mirror, you've eaten red meat, you're going to hell. Look, it's sort of, there's a belief that hell is all the suffering you've caused, then pushed back on you, either in the form of reincarnation or through, an actual hell. You go through everything you put everybody else through in your life. But then you've got, different beliefs. I'd like to think there's something after. Maybe the aliens pop up and go, way, you were all a soul anyway, and this was just the practice level for your real life.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I reckon it's nout.
Yeah.
I can't remember being another thing before
Well,
I
this
was
is
Ross.
it. This is it. You return to where you came from, right? So, like, you were nothing before you were born, and then that's it. Like, what was there before you were born? You can't remember that.
No, there was nout, wasn't
There could be anything. Xenu might be there. Scientologists might be right.
Xenu?
Yeah, Lord Xenu.
What's Lord Xenu?
Oh, he's like a galactic federation leader, dictator, like millions of years ago. Trapped a load of souls because of overpopulation. Put him into some volcanoes on Earth. Those souls then escaped and found bodies, and that's where humans come from.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's-
I don't believe that. That's you not seen the Scientology episode of South Park?
Years ago now at this point.
It
yeah.
explains it all.
Aye.
This is what they actually believe.
I'll have to go back and watch that one. What's something you like to change about yourself?
I'd just like to be able to do more. Like I was watching the Great North Run this past weekend, and I always said I wanted to do that. Why haven't I done it?
I'd love to be able to.
Why
do it.
can't I go and raise money for charity? Why can't I go and do something nice? Why can't I be like a better person when it comes to that kind of thing? So I'd like to be able to do more. There's so many things like the New Year's dip, where you just go throw yourself into freezing cold water. I'd love to do that.
You've done that, haven't you? I'm sure you've been into the water. Richard Tubman behind the camera here, by the way. No, you haven't. No, fair enough.
There's so much stuff that I see, and so I'd love to do that. But like again, because I'm so avoidant, I sometimes like second guess, and it's like, oh, I really want to do that, but I don't really want to go because people might judge me, or I might not. I don't know. So I need to get over that and I need to start doing more.
Are you proud of being from here? Because when it's Great North Run Day and I see the BBC coverage and I see everyone just speaking about how good we are up here, that's the one day of the year I think, bloody hell, I am proud to be from up here.
I'm proud to be from up here, but it's getting harder to be proud to be from this country, if that makes sense. Like, I'm proud that this is the pocket of the world that I'm from, and that every single person who I've met who went off to do something big in films or do whatever, like, they always end up back here because they say there's nothing like this place. And I don't know, there's something special about it. There's something special about it. And Get Carter was filmed here. Come on. I'm purely about that.
The Lighthouse family.
Lighthouse family are from here. Sting's from here. Yeah.
Plenty of stuff here.
Mark Knopfler.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
Anton Deck. What's the best thing that's ever happened to you, Sam?
Probably starting this company. Like, straight up. Like, I think despite the fact it's been so stressful, it proved that we can do it. And after losing a business the first time, I think I was like, when that happened, I don't think I left the house for like 6 weeks. Like, that was bad. It was bad. It's like losing, that's your thing. And he just went. And it sucked. It sucked. But like, coming into this, it was like, okay, well, I've felt that before. So it'll suck to feel it again, but at least I know it'll clear. But at the same time, if it works, then this is amazing. And it worked. And thankfully, despite all the hardships we had in getting off the ground, but as we've learned, it wouldn't be a Cultaholic launch if it didn't go wrong. It's one of those things where I'm just amazed every day I look back and I'm like, we've got so many staff. This is amazing. Like, I can't believe that this is still a thing. Like, we're able to do this. I'm very, very proud of it.
That's the pride thing is a thing I'm getting my head around. Just when you walk in the morning and you look like left upstairs when I get upstairs, and every desk is full. There's like 16 people or whatever it is upstairs, and there's however many down here as well. It's like I know YouTubers get looked down on, I think, by wider society for like not having a proper job.
You get plenty of eye rolls, definitely.
But it is what it is. But you look around and that's when we've been able to give people jobs in the pandemic and whatnot.
Well, this is it. It's
crazy
like,
to think about, isn't it?
It's a fake job, and it's like, yeah, but it's able to. If it's so fake, how is it able to provide livelihoods for people and people get to come to work and do this. I never thought I'd get to come to work and watch wrestling and do stuff about wrestling. I never thought I'd be on video. I was never supposed to be on video. Now I'm on video. But just the more you do things, the more it changes, the better it is.
That's enough arse licking. Now, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
I don't know, man. There's just a lot of bad choices. There's just a lot of bad choices. Can I say, like, my 20s?
You can say whatever you like. We'll leave it there, unless you want to dive in a bit further.
No, we'll leave it there.
What problem happening in the world troubles you the most?
I think global warming, overpopulation, very troubling. I don't like the rise of oligarchies. I think they're getting scary. The fact we have companies meddling in, countries' politics and leading the way into this very dark future where Nestle is going to enslave us all and make us pick chocolate beans. But I don't know. I'm most worried probably about overpopulation and global warming. Like, in terms of like, this is coming for us. But at the same time, I'm just worried that, there might be a war and I'll be conscripted somehow and I'll have to go off and fight. Or I'll my brain, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, but how can you make this the worst thing possible? And so it'll just go.
Yeah, I get that with it. Global warming as well. But for me, is a big thing. Seeing the temperatures in certain parts of the world now.
I try and avoid eating even like simple things. Like I try and go vegan every now and then, even though I'm not fully vegan. I try and have a month on or a month off, or I'll have I cut down on my beef intake like massively because beef is shipped all over the world and it's just like so bad for the environment. But if you just make steak a treat and maybe do it once every few months and really make it special and really get an expensive bit of meat and do it justice, that's better in my book than eating a burger every day or eating a steak every week that's a bit crap. Like, go big with it and make it special. And then at the same time, you're reducing the demand for beef and not as many cows farting and getting shipped everywhere. And hopefully the Amazon rainforest won't get turned into a car park, which it is right now.
Very passionate speech there. I asked this because Jack told a story about headbutting a man in a chip shop. What's the worst thing you've ever done, Sam?
No comment. No comment. No, as I said, I've made some poor choices when my head's not been in the right place. Hurt many people and been just a horrible person to a lot of people. I just, I don't know, man. Like, it's probably just my behavior. That's like the worst thing. Like, just, I wish I could just go back and shake myself vigorously.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Didn't expect this to get so deep. What's the longest hour of your life apart from this one right now?
You ever had to just sit and wait in a shop for your ma when you were a kid? That kind of feeling, but like anytime you
sat
go
in
to
the car.
A&E, oh god, and they go to Asda.
I've just gone to Bon Marche for an hour and you
man.
sat there in the car with the window open on a summer's day.
Yeah, like that, but similar feeling. When I used to work in a cinema and it was like dead through like all the big summer films have gone. There's nothing new till Christmas. No films out really, and then it was like, okay, there's 30 staff in. Right, we're going to send a few of you home. Can I go home? No. Clean. Okay, but everything's already clean. Just look like you're cleaning. So for like 2 hours, I was stood there just with this spray bottle and posters, just like that. And it took forever.
It's not quite therapeutic, that.
No, because they were already sparklingly clean. I was just stood there like this. And just, it took, like, I did them all, and it had been like half an hour. And I was like, I'll go again. And just keep going.
What's the best day of your life?
Poor. I don't know. I struggle. This is another thing with me. I struggle to remember like good things because my brain gets so clouded with bad things. But
I couldn't answer this question if
no,
someone asked me.
it's that's the thing. It's like
Stupid cosmopolitan.
the greatest day of my life. I probably haven't lived it yet. I think that's to come in the new phase of my life, and hopefully being more positive is going to lead to some awesome chances to do some really cool stuff.
And as we end this designated small talk portion of the episode, who's your favourite wrestler?
Who's my favourite wrestler? He's tattooed on my leg, Ross. It's Bret the Hitman Hart.
It's Godzilla.
Oh, it is Godzilla, yes.
Go. Small talk over. It's time for the straight to hell portion of the show where, of course, Sam has got 5 things that does his nipples in about the world of professional wrestling, and we're going to send them to hell right now. Sam, what's your first offering, please?
So I'm going straight in with tribalism, which is something I brought up just before. Oh, tribalism. Now, you've got a favourite football team, right?
I do, Newcastle
Yeah.
United.
Do you have a favourite wrestling promotion?
AEW, I guess. But
Okay.
I don't.
You're a
support,
shill.
I don't.
You're
suppo-
a shill.
I don't support.
You're a shill.
I don't support them like I do a football
Stop
team.
being a shill.
I don't support
So,
AEW like I do a football team.
It's that kind of thing. I think you can have a favourite wrestling promotion, but you can also want other promotions to do well.
Yes, you can.
I think that you don't have to be one side versus the other. I think that you don't have to jump in comments whenever we say something nice about AEW. It'd be like, you're on Tony's payroll.
To cut you off there, Sam, I find that people only say that. So if you're complimenting about AEW,
Yeah.
the people who then call you an AEW shill are people who don't watch AEW.
Yes.
If you compliment WWE, you are told you're a WWE shill
Yes.
by people who don't watch WWE.
And this is it. It's like, okay, I get you don't have the time to watch all of the wrestling every week because we have to do it, and Jesus Christ, there is barely enough
Barely
time.
fit it in, yeah.
And everybody's like, check out MLW, and I'm like, yeah, just getting home at 8 o'clock, putting it on while I'm painting something. But like, yeah, it's one of these things where I think you can, like, I really like AEW, but I really like SmackDown. Not really a big viewer of Raw. I'll catch it every now and then. I try and stay on top of it, of course, for work, but I won't sit down and watch a full 3 hours live every week. But I think you're allowed to like these things without having to crap on everybody else, and you can go, you know what, that's neat. I'm glad you like Roman Reigns. I'm glad you like the Usos. I'm glad that you like, this. I'm glad you like AEW. I'm glad you like Kenny Omega. And you can be separate, and you can have a nice civil conversation about it. And then, in the middle, you can be like, yeah, but wrestling. And I think by getting at each other's throats all the time, by being very tribal with it. It is ultimately, you are supporting a team, I guess, if you are that minded that you are, you're only going to support a company. And I think with our age in particular, I think we might be the biggest culprits of that in terms of like people our age, simply because when we were young and it was getting really interesting, it was WWF versus WCW versus ECW, and you had all the other fringe promotions on the edge. But we kind of rooted for a company in the Monday Night Wars, and I think that never quite left. And even down to the way that people chant EC dub, like people still rooting for companies, and there's nothing wrong with that, so long as you don't just crap on every other company at the same time. You're allowed to have a favorite promotion and then be like, oh, didn't really like last week's MLW, but this week's is amazing. You're allowed, and I think it's something that's nice with what Tony Khan's been saying. I know I'm a massive shill. What Tony Khan's been saying about how it should be more about the talent than the promotion. And, you know, people want to support talent rather than promotions. And I agree with that. And I think that, you know, Kenny Omega is Kenny Omega no matter where he goes. And why shouldn't he be? So I think that we need to end this petty, trivial, just constant back and forth and just all get on the same side, because ultimately CM Punk's back, guys. Like, the second coming of Wrestling Jesus has happened. We've got, you know, the landscape's completely changing, and now we could be right on the precipice of another boom period, but we've all got to get on the same side, and we've all got to support wrestling in order to allow that to break through. Because if it's like, oh, like Kenny Omega was on this TV show, it's like, yeah, but he's Kenny Omega. Like, no, like, just, it's a wrestler on a big TV show. Look at it that way. It's good. It means that things are breaking through, and fingers crossed, you know, we're going to get another 90s. Oh, yeah. Another 90s. Could you imagine?
I know, it'd be nice. Good wrestling's good wrestling. It doesn't matter who puts it on.
Do you know as well that 90% of these people who are very tribal are watching both?
Yeah.
You know they
just pretend they don't they?
Yeah, because it was the same during the 90s. Like, when it's like, look at the ratings, and it's like, yeah, but the ratings. And I know ratings do matter to some people, but ultimately it is a dated system. It doesn't really have any bearing on certain things. It can break down age graph, like demographics for you and everything, but it's a fractional, but it's a fractional percentage of an audience.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you know, in the 90s, you're seeing all these huge ratings, but people were just flicking backwards and forwards. So that's one viewer on two shows. So, you know, people are watching both. And now you've got +3s and +7s where it's taken into account when people have got it on the DVR or on demand. And it's all going to change soon, but, you know, fingers crossed we can get over tribalism and move forward.
I think it's an interesting thing you bring up, Sam, tribalism, because back in the day, obviously, people are going to be sat there who know the thing about you and I.
Yes.
And say you were WCW kids.
Yeah.
What do you make of the people who have no other option than to watch one promotion like I did back in the day? I could only see WCW because I didn't get Sky until 2004.
This was it. So I think we got Sky when I was like 13, and it was amazing. And, you know, I had cousins that would tape WWF shows at the time, and I'd see occasional little bits here and there. But, you know, I was happy just having WCW because it was wrestling.
Yeah.
And there were a few kids in school that watched WCW. Mainly everybody else was WWF. But we still got to kind of teach each other about it. And it was like, oh, so you watch WCW? Well, who's big in WCW? It's like Scott Steiner and The Giant and blah and blah. It's like, oh, cool. Well, what about this? And yeah, I think that I was just happy to watch wrestling, and I want us to get back to a point where we're just happy to watch wrestling no matter what it is. It's nice.
I think you've pulled it around quite nice, because earlier on you were speaking about things you thought you were cool and you wouldn't accept other things in music and modern.
This is it.
It's relating to this.
Yeah, this is it.
If you're tribalistic out there, look at him. You'll grow up like him.
I used to, you know, that's the thing is, like, we put too much stock in things that are cool or not cool, and we forget to ask ourselves, well, do you enjoy it? Mm-hmm. If you enjoy it, that's all that matters. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, if it brings you joy, but three of your mates go, oh, it's crap. Like, Baron Corbin dog food segment. I think it's one of the worst but most brilliant things ever. I love it. And everybody at the time was like, how can you give that a B? And I was like, it's brilliant.
It's because
covered in dog food and he's chained up, and it was perfect.
It's because you liked it, Simon. I don't like the world today where you're not allowed to have an opinion about a very subjective thing like professional wrestling.
It's like that meme, you know, where you've got like the little blue blob in the box, and it's like, oh, I'm comfy here, but maybe I'll go outside. And then he just gets like punched back into the box, and it's like, okay, I'll never leave again.
Yeah, it is horrible, isn't it, when you have an opinion that you just think, oh, it's about wrestling. Who really cares? You know, there's more important and more severe things going on in the world today, and people give you death threats like I did.
It's a TV show. It's no different to Coronation Street. It's literally a TV soap opera. That's all wrestling is, with a bit of ballet thrown in. That is it. That is it. It's a TV show. We shouldn't be getting so angry about it. Oh.
Well, I don't know. I was about to say there, more wrestling is a good thing, but more good
more
wrestling.
wrestling's a good thing.
No.
Just make sure that you don't get too big so that we have to start covering you, because I think we might actually end up on speed.
It's going to become impossible. I'm struggling at the minute for the podcast, having to watch Raw and then NXT and then AEW and SmackDown.
And I was it was like, what are we doing then? And it was like notes. I was like, I'm gonna have to read up on all these shows. Like, I've only seen this one. I've seen bits of that. And
so yeah, as a wrestling fan, more good wrestling is a good thing. Not necessarily more wrestling, more good wrestling. So there we go. I don't know what else we can say about tribalism.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, isn't it? It's just, I don't think it's ever going to go away.
I hope it gets phased out.
I hope so. But it's sort of with the rise of internet culture and gatekeeping. And when you're particularly, I did a lot of studies on fandom at university, and it's one of these things where like fandom is very interesting. And I've always said if I ever do a PhD, I want it to be about fandom. But when I was doing my studies, I learned that fans kind of, they take ownership in something, regardless of whether they own it or not. So, if you like WWE, you like Roman Reigns, you like Jey Uso, they're yours. They're your thing, you're into it. But if you know everything about it, and then somebody else goes, oh, he looks a bit funny, you'll just bite the head off. Or, no, this guy's a bit better, like you bite the head off. And it's like, you don't have to defend it. It can defend itself. And if it's as good as you think it is, it will speak for itself. If not, then you've got a bit of a quirky taste. So what? That's cool. Like, people strive to be, when you're a kid, you strive to conform as much as possible, but as an adult, all you want to be is different as possible. So I think there is that meeting point in the middle where, you've got a lot of riled up teenagers going, but, and it's like, get to like 30, you're not going to care about any of this. You're not going to care about any of this. You're just going to be happy that, Christian's back. Like, I want to see Christian back. And then everybody kind of crapped on it. And I was like, I get, the tease was a bit much, but it's Christian. He's back.
Yeah. If you are a tribalistic wrestling fan, let us know in the comments below why you hate the promotion that you do hate.
Yes.
I saw a lad tweeting Wale a while ago saying, I just can't bring myself to like AEW because WWE's been around for so long, and I just can't bring myself to like support the other one.
Well, this is it.
It's very interesting.
There are several different types of fandom, but you do end up always in some sort of percentage of ownership in the mind where you kind of, that's your thing. It's got your back. You've got its back. And it almost, in some instances, if they like allow filming, you'll see the rise of something called the producer, which is like a user of the product. So somebody attending a wrestling show, say 200 fans attended Raw and filmed on their phones, right? Even though they're not allowed to. And then they went away and cut all their angles together to make a whole new thing. Technically, they own all that footage. Technically, they've just cut their own Raw match, and technically they've just put it on the internet. So you start to see, in some circles, you see like that element of it, and you get people who are just like hard-burned legacy fans. Like, I watched that as a kid, I watched it as a teenager, I watch it as an adult, I don't need anything else. Fans are fascinating, man. Really fascinating. The mentality behind it, because everybody's a mega fan of something, but you can't really explain why. It's just, it appeals to you.
It just happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you realise that if you are a mega fan of WWE, surely the presence of AEW would make WWE better.
Yeah, and this is it.
It's a very complex thing, isn't it?
It always branches off, because it's always like, it's either going to stay the same, worse, better, and the camps sort of splinter and splinter and splinter, but then all we end up in the end with is tiny little pockets of fans who have their own little echo chambers. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, he sucks. And we're like, yeah, he sucks. And then the other group's like, oh, he rules. Yeah, he rules, but he sucks. And then the third was, oh, these both suck. And you end up with just splintered, fractured little groups of fans who are all apart and separate and divided, kind of like our country right now. And instead, they're just sort of sat there on their own rather than interacting with the wider community.
Yeah, there we go. Tribalism in wrestling fandom has gone straight to hell once more on this series. Sam, what's your second offering, please?
So my second offering is WWE's incredible but terrible production.
Wow.
Yes. So there is not an entity, I feel, that travels as much as WWE and is able to produce such a consistently stunning looking show from a physical standpoint. So when you get to the set and everything, those huge screens are flown. They're like, you've got crew building, local workers, tour workers, the rings built, all the seats, everything's got to be there just perfect. All of it's got to be wired up so that somebody hits their entrance, it's all coming on the ramp, and everything else is huge. And they're using these amazing cameras and that new 8K camera they've got, which is just, I want one of those for us.
I don't.
It's like, you imagine my face.
Every imperfection, just every bump is there.
Like, it's one of those things where, like, I struggle to see anybody else who can do this. I can't name another entity. Like, you got the NFL. You've got, in America, over here you've got Premier League football. But
By the way,
they're going to stadiums, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're already kind of,
In the NFL, whoever did that Panther thing needs to work for WWE. Do you see the Panther that was running around the stadium?
No.
It was an American football team. I forget. Do you know which one it was, Richard?
If it's Panther, it'll be Carolina Panthers.
It was a big black, Panther thing, just running around the stadium, but it looked. Do we have those
the AR
graphics? Yeah,
it
looked 10 times more realistic than what WWE do.
This is it. The thing with the AR was when they started introducing that, I was like, this could be cool, but you can see where it's going. We're going to have a flat screen, and if you're in the audience, you will see a tiny little screen, a curtain, and somebody comes out. At home, it's like, but it's always felt kind of like they had draft versions of the final product. Like there was, times where Drew McIntyre's name would slide in and it would go, or like the shading on Roman would look like it was like a draft model and it wasn't quite right. And then you'd see at pay-per-views it would just look stunning. And sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. But elements like that, like I struggle to think that of anybody who can go into an arena every single week, twice a week, because they've obviously got 2 shows going on with 2 separate sets of crews and deliver that consistently, no matter where you see them, Manchester, England, New York City, anywhere. Like, provided it's a televised show, it looks the same. Provided it's a house show, it looks the same. Like, they're just able to do it. But then you get to the truck and it's like, okay, why are we cutting so much? Why are we cutting so much? Why are we cutting so much? Back in the day, it was just like, a couple of cameras and you had the hard and the roving. That was it. So you had 2, 3 at ringside and the hard and the roving. And it was just very direct, get the shot, okay. And they shot it like sports. Now it's shot like a Hollywood film and it's like blah, blah, blah. But it's shot from like a 7-year-old's understanding of a Hollywood film. So like, the analogy, you remember when Seth Rollins was hitting Drew with the chair and it was like bah,
Camera,
bah, bah, and the camera guy's jumping up and down like this, and like that guy's working his arse off and deserves as much money as possible for adhering to the rules that are set to him. He probably doesn't want to be there jumping up and down, but he's doing what he's told, so fine, okay. But if you look at that like you'd look at a car chase in a movie, right? So you see a car chase in a movie, you get all the interior shots of like Vin Diesel and The Rock, and they're talking, they're shifting gears, you're seeing all this stuff, the speedometer's going and everything, you see some blurring going past them. That doesn't really give you any sense of speed. It shows you they're going fast because look at his foot down and there's that and there's that. But the sense of speed comes from a static shot on a street corner and the car just goes past it, and it's like, wow, they're going fast. Then you cut back into the car and then you keep throwing those shots in. Then you can start doing the tracking shots where that car's in the middle and it stays still. All of the other cars on the motorway going the opposite way, like flying past. It's like, oh, it's even faster. WWE needs to take this and apply it to what they're doing, because by jumping up and down like this when somebody's hitting them with a chair, you're losing the impact of the chair. And part of it might be, on purpose, because we've heard so much about chair shots and the injuries that wrestlers take, and that side of the industry has been opened up, thankfully, and we're aware of how badly, people have been hurt by these things in the past. But at the same time, when it's a chair shot to somebody's back and it seems perfectly safe and they're doing it over and over again, if you just left that shot static, or you had just somebody like filming it and quite haphazardly like, oh god, like what's happening, this is so unplanned, like they did in the 90s, it feels more real. And because they're not jumping up and down on cue, they're not, somebody in there is going zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, instead of just going, just film it. Like, we're not going to tell you anything that's going to happen here, just film it. And there'll be somebody to pull you out the way if you need to be out the way. That is all they need to do. And when you get to the ring, maybe leave it on the roving camera a little bit more, because it's just cutting all over the place to the point where tag matches, sometimes you're not sure which corner you're looking at, and so you look at the tights and it's like, because they're just moving around. But I don't understand how you can you literally have one of the best production aesthetics going on a touring thing, and like nobody can touch you at that. And then you just make it look like dog sick. Like, it's like going for a 5-star meal, you see a picture of it and it's amazing, but it's prepared by like the world's worst chef. It's,
Yeah. Going back to that thing about the chair shot camera angles, I got speaking to someone who worked as a producer for World of Sport. And again, the rules for World of Sport on ITV could be completely different to what Raw have. But they used to have, I don't even remember when you watched World of Sport on a Saturday night, they used to cut as they bumped on the mat.
Yeah.
And they had to do that to blur the lines and have kids not work out how wrestling moves were done.
Yeah,
So maybe there's something to it in
I'd
terms
heard
of that.
there were certain things to do with weapons as well with World of Sport. I think one of the first matches they did was a ladder match, but the ladder couldn't be used as a weapon, which is a famous, WWE situation as well. But basically, you couldn't show a chair shot, you couldn't show a weapon shot, it always had to cut away. But then WCW got around that back in the day by implying
Bosh.
the violence. So they would, it wasn't so much, you'd see the Bosch and stuff, but like in promos, they couldn't have, Sting beat Scott Steiner to death with a baseball bat. So you'd see Scott Steiner on the floor or whoever, and Sting would be holding the bat. And it's like, okay, so if you imply it, it's a lot easier. But I get they have sponsors, but if you're going to show chair shots, then just show them. Just show them, because AEW are proving you can appeal to an older audience, and it doesn't seem to be harming advertising revenue. And I know, they're not as big a company, and WWE has these massive multi-year deals in place with people like Snickers and Skittles and all these companies that they are going to have demands. They are going to want you to do your product in a certain way. They're not going to want you to talk about this or do that. But maybe we should start tapering off that, and we can finally bust the myth that wrestling fans are broke, because wrestling fans are not broke. You ever been to WrestleMania weekend? You'll know wrestling fans are not broke. Like, they sell belts by the droves. They're just always out drinking.
There's 50 shows to pay for every week.
50 shows to pay for every week. And you've got, all of the merch. You're in the venue. You're buying $10 beers. There is a lot of money in the wrestling sphere from a fan point of view. Not everybody, of course, but there is money there. So you can market 50-inch plasma TVs to, I think that was one of the things where they said back in 2007, it's like you can't really market 50-inch plasma TVs to wrestling fans because they don't really have the money for it. It's like, bollocks, innit? Like, it's not right.
I've got a 75-inch TV.
I know. I've just seen. You've seen Sharp have unveiled a 325-inch one. It's literally a wall. I don't even want to hazard to guess how much it's going to cost, but I bet it'll be like 50 grand.
What size is that? Is that 50?
That's 55.
55.
Yeah, I think the one through there is 65 and it's 60, and then the one upstairs is 65. I think.
My God, imagine 325 inches on that wall.
It's the size of a wall. It's
I don't even think
gargantuan.
it would fit there, would it?
But I think it's because Samsung have revealed a TV just called The Wall, which is just a wall.
Yeah, but that's cheap. Anyway, me and Tom were speaking about this a few months ago because I couldn't wrap my head around why watching Alexa Bliss do Spooky Bollocks on Raw in 2021 was so naff to me. But going back and watching Kane shooting light bolts from his hands was still like, what, Kane? And Tom made a good point. He's saying that WWE that today take themselves far too seriously in this quest to produce mini movies all the time with the music, with the camera cuts, with the camera angles. Whereas back in the day, when Kane was shooting the light bolts and setting men on fire with his hands, it was still shot within the realm of a professional wrestling show.
It's
so
shot like
felt more
sport
natural.
Still. Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I think the thing with the 90s as well was culturally it was a very intriguing time. You had like the rise of shock rock and industrial metal, and you had like Marilyn Manson was a big featured part of that weird culture bleeding through into the norm. Then you had like Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and everything was getting a little bit darker and more sinister. Just everybody was kind of getting into the alt scene. You had the rise of Smashing Pumpkins, the death of grunge music. It was just a very strange time and very alternative, and I think that a lot of that lent in, or WWE were able to lean into a lot of that, I think, and that allowed them to have that crossover appeal, especially musically. Like, they always had kind of alt bands and they had all this, but they've ditched all that and they've gone after the money. You can't blame them for that at all, because they're running a business. So if having Flo Rida is better than having Limp Bizkit, then go for it. Flo Rida's always going to be better than Limp Bizkit, innit? For money, like, surely. So
what a shame.
But, there's nothing stopping us swinging back to that. It just takes that cultural shift. And I think once the culture shifts a little bit to be slightly more edgy and alternative again, then we'll see the rise of that again through other media. You'd have, quite, alternative films, very strange stuff coming through on TV. And that will just lift everybody into this sphere of alt kind of weirdness. But at the same time, they're getting a bit too hammy with the, how I feel about the bulk of cinematic stuff. And I just prefer when you shoot it like a sport, because in the 90s you shot it like a sport and it felt more convincing, even though it was spooky bollocks.
Yeah. Anything else apart from camera work and whatnot?
This overstuffing the booth does my head in. I don't know. It just feels like there are so many things that they get criticized for, like, especially if you watch a pay-per-view, Michael Cole, while somebody's making the reference, will give you 3 months worth of storylines. But that's also helpful, because if you're a first-time viewer, you know it. So there's a lot of things like that which I think could be refined a little, but at the same time, probably don't need it. It's just more like, I think if we can move away from this overproduced nonsense with the backstage stuff, maybe get a little bit more serious about things rather than having it all kind of, you know, ooh, and make it slightly less childish. But then, you know, who am I to say that WWE is and probably always will be a product for kids? And I'm starting to feel that they're not going to compete with AEW. They're just going to keep that market. They're going to be the people that do wrestling for younger people.
I think that's a good thing as well. Different strokes for different folks.
And that's
isn't
it. It's an entry point, and then when you hit a certain age, you can either stick with it or you can move on.
Yeah. There we go. All the flaws in production stuff. The wonderful production of WWE have gone straight doomed to hell. Anything else on that point?
Oh, just Kevin Dunn. Just get out of there, Kevin. Get out of there,
Go to
Kevin.
hell, Kevin
Get
Dunn.
out of there, Kevin.
Frick. Number 3, please, Sam.
My third is, now this is a weird one. It's WrestleMania Access as a single day event. Single venue event.
Single venue event?
Yeah. I feel like Access is a bit of a waste. I think it's cool that you get to go meet wrestlers and you get to, you know, you see, but it's once you've been to one, you've been to them all, right?
Yeah.
It's a big shop. Some coffins with some Undertaker victories on them.
Ric Flair's robes are there.
Ric Flair's robes and that. There's a couple of different bits of memorabilia which are cool to see every year. You know, you might see the Elimination Chamber, but it's. I think that as a single venue, it's wasted. I think you can do so much more with Access, that you could sell tickets that were much more expensive that got you into a range of events. I think you could take the wrestling and have some exhibition matches still at Access, but I think you could, you know, maybe run a smaller show with a bit more of a Shotgun Saturday Night feel, with some lower carders that maybe aren't on the WrestleMania card, turn it into an event. I think you could take a theater and do sit downs with wrestlers, like, you know, talk about their careers. I think you could do live podcasts. I think you could take, if you can get like a concert hall. Could you imagine a Music of WWE event? Where you could go along and
Jim Johnson behind the decks going like, whoa!
But yeah, you had like all of this stuff being played live, or like as close as they could, or they'll do like an orchestral WWE themes thing, or, you know, I think you could do so much more with Access that would make me go every year if I was going to WrestleMania. It'd be like, oh, well, it's $150, but look at all we can do. And then at the same time, if they really wanted to be shirty, they could use it to kind of book important events at the same time as other shows. But let's hope they weren't to do that, because, you know, that would harm them, because people wouldn't go. But yeah. I think, yeah, they need to rethink Access, and, you know, they can have the meet and greet element, they can have the big shop. But I don't know, you feel like, I feel like anyway, if they had like a double convention center, you could have, you know, all that stuff from the archives. You could have so much of that there, like different rings just set up for, because they already have that for like posing in for a picture inside the Elimination Chamber and everything. But I think just having all of this old stuff, like the big SmackDown entranceway set up or something, like if you could do all of that and see it all across 5-6 venues, it's going to cost them a lot of money, but they're going to make a hell of a lot more back.
I was going to say, the main thing I was thinking while you were saying all that stuff there was how many people actually go every single year. Therefore, need to see different stuff.
It seemed busy. Like, it seemed really busy every time we went to Access. But I guess that is it. It's like maybe they'd need smaller venues, but more of them.
Yeah.
But I think if you did enough, you could cater. You could do these live experiences that maybe it's like, okay, well, you know, you've got a ticket to it. You're going to come or not. It's like a one-off thing. It's only ever going to happen once. That's it. And they can kind of change it up.
I wish they would open a theme park.
I'm amazed that they haven't.
I wish they would do it.
I'd never even thought of that.
With a physical Hall of Fame inside somewhere.
Well, I think the physical Hall of Fame's got to come, right?
Vince Land.
Like,
McMahon Land.
I want more than anything to go to the archive. That is my dream job. Like, if this was to all go away tomorrow and I could have, you know, any job in the world of wrestling, I'd want to be the WWE archivist, because like it's like, here's another crate. What's in this? Boom. It's 12 original world titles.
Yeah.
Oh! And you get to see and categorize and put it away neatly. And it's all like organized by year and show and all of that. But I think there's so much there that you could have a physical Hall of Fame as part of a WWE museum that's attached to that, you know, like kind of annexed off from that archive, because then you just need to wheel the exhibits in and out. That's it. And I think just even that, yeah. Like, even if they made that into like a physical Hall of Fame for Access or part of Access, where they, they set it up every year before they build one, because they have to build one, surely. Like, that solidifies it as a Hall of Fame, right? If it actually exists.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about this point, because when I went to Access, I mean, we've been to two, haven't we? Two different Access. It was 32 and 33. I didn't feel much walking around, but I guess that's the point you're making, isn't it?
That's it. It's like, I felt like it was cool, but every time I went to Access, it was like half of this is just a shop. And it was like, right, well, it's kind of what this whole weekend is, right? The whole weekend's a big shop. But I don't know, it just felt like a missed opportunity for a company with such media. Could you imagine going to like a cinema and watching classic matches?
Yeah.
Like the eve of
With the wrestler
WrestleMania.
there
Or like, with
talking
like,
about it,
just sitting down and having a talk with like somebody like Brett about like 10 of his classic matches, and you just sit back and watch and get drunk. Like, it'd be awesome. It'd be class.
It would. There we go then. Something I've never thought about before, improving WrestleMania accents.
I just feel like, they're letting it slip.
Access. Make Access a success. Which it probably already is, but Sam's made it better.
That just makes it sound so dirty.
Fourth authoring, please, when you've had a lovely sip of ginger beer.
So, I think we're all guilty of this. But it's the overuse of the term buried. I don't know if this has been brought up before. I feel it might have been.
It's a shovel.
It is a shovel. I think, people are all too quick to jump to the word buried when somebody debuts and loses, or, X, Y, Z. And I know there are instances where it really does feel like it, like Karrion Kross, but he wasn't buried. He was squashed. And it's sort of, there is a difference. And burial suggests surely more long-term, like you're being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed into the ground, right? But I think everybody just overuses buried. I think it's like, oh, they've buried him, they've buried her, and it's like, just calm down. It's 1 week. It's a TV show. Just calm down.
It is an interesting thing, because I think back immediately to it was Bobby Lashley against Keith Lee on Raw.
We're guilty of this too. Every time I do it on the news, I'm like, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, it was Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee on Raw, and it was during that weird period of time where Keith just sort of had come back, but they weren't doing anything with him.
Yeah.
And he was just having matches. And Lashley was trying to lock the Hurt Lock on him, on Keith, and Keith broke free. And I'm thinking, wow, what a bloody moment that is. Keith getting out of the Hurt Lock that's taking down so many people. But then Keith lost in maybe 5 minutes or something like that. It was just on a random Raw. And after that, everyone was going, oh my God, they're burying Keith Lee.
But this is it. It's like, if they don't have something for somebody and they say, just come back, or they're just kind of getting started and they're still trying to go, oh, well, they like when you do that, but maybe they don't really like that. Maybe we can turn you heel. Maybe we better keep your face. They kind of, it's like the dark matches for NXT talent, right? Try them out, see how the crowd react, bring them back, discuss it. And then, next time maybe work on your footwork a bit more. Next time maybe do this. And it's all that kind of trial and error. So I think when you bring a wrestler in and it's always like, they're burying them, it's like, it's probably that they're just trying to feel out the situation. Like, and a squash sucks. It sucks. And I know it sucks, but it's not a burial. It's not a burial. And I think we all need to come together in this time and hold hands and move past the word buried being used as much. Because as I said, we're guilty of it as well. We're guilty of it, very guilty of it. But I just feel like it's big boy time. And we need to put our big boy pants on and start using the word squashed more.
So who's your favourite current wrestler active today?
Man.
Throw anyone out there.
It's either Roman or Kenny, I think.
So let's say
in terms of American.
Well, let's go Kenny, because I don't think it will ever happen to Roman. Let's see Kenny's loses the world title inside 5 minutes to Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
How do we cope with that without saying, "Oh my God, he's been buried"?
Well, this is the situation. So if you're a champion and you lose that quickly, like Bianca Belair, I feel that was a burial, but not deliberately, but inadvertently by having Becky beat her so quickly. She just pasted her. It's tantamount to a burial, right? Because it's like, well, you were champion. Like, what are you doing? She was unstoppable. You've made everybody look weaker than Becky Lynch, which is fine, but like, what? Like, that quickly? Could you not have just had her lose after a normal match? I get that. Like, when you add a title to the mix, it starts to get a little bit line blurry. But if it's just sort of like, your average upper mid-carder.
So let's say you're a big fan of The Butcher from AEW. The
Okay.
Butcher loses to Luther.
Yeah.
That's a terrible example. The Butcher loses to the elite hunter, Frankie Kazarian, inside 5 minutes. Let's just take any titles out of the picture. How are we coping without saying the Butcher's been buried?
Well, he lost within 5 minutes. He's been squashed. And then, you see what happens next week. And if he loses again, okay, well, he's been squashed again.
The shovel's getting taken out the cupboard.
maybe our best start opening the shed door, and then if the losing continues, but then because you can be swerved by this stuff, and this is something that I think a lot of people have forgotten. You can be swerved by losing streaks, and the idea of building to that victory doesn't always need to be a pathetic sort of, oh, I'm a jobber and I've won. Like, it can be somebody who's going through a lot professionally, or maybe their head's not in the game right now, and maybe you can spin so many stories out of it that we've got to just be hesitant to get the shovel until, you lose 4 weeks in a row and then you're not seen on TV for 3 months and you rock up on main event. Then we can start bringing the shovel out. Then it's kind of like, oh. But I think, yeah, if there's a title in the mix, it's sort of one or the other. But if it's just, I think we just got to roll with it. I think we just got to use the word squash, and I think we've got to wait and just leave the shovel in the corner for a bit.
It's an interesting perspective you've got there. When there's a title involved, it is a burial.
Well, I don't think so much it's a burial. Like, if there's a title involved, it blurs the line. So if it's a situation like Bianca Belair, that to me, because of the fallout of it, it felt like a burial. But if it's like a shocking underdog victory, it could be one of the greatest moments of all time. So it just depends on the situation, I guess, and how quickly and how easily the champion is dispatched, whether they're a heel or whether they're a massive babyface, and the desired response from that. But I think when it's sort of just general, no titles involved, then it's like the burial word comes out a bit more, I feel.
Was that the fourth one?
Yes.
It was the fourth one. I don't think we need to say anything else about that one, do we?
No.
It's quite an interesting debate you struck up there. The semantics between burial and squash and burial.
Well, I just feel like as I said, we all need to move forward and be more understanding of the wrestling booking situation and try and just give them that bit of leeway. And then if they don't prove themselves, whichever company I'm making reference to here, then screw them. They're burying people.
Maybe it's something that comes with age and a bit of wisdom. Because I went through this back. It's something I spoke about on the podcast before with Goldberg and Lesnar.
Yeah.
When Goldberg came back in Survivor Series 2016, and I was thinking, oh my God, I can't wait for Goldberg and Brock to eradicate any memory of WrestleMania 20 and that crap fest that match was.
Yeah.
And then Brock Lesnar ended up losing inside 80 whatever seconds it was. And I was like, how could they do that? Why would they do that after WrestleMania 20? They had the chance to eradicate that and it didn't.
This is one of the only things that I think usurps any of the discussion we've just had, is if you have a legend like Goldberg come back and just mow through people, that's a burial. Because that guy doesn't need anything. He's already Bill Goldberg.
But initially it wasn't, because they built a WrestleMania, and this is what I was saying.
This is it.
Sometimes you need to just sit back and go, let's not react immediately. Let's sit back and let it play the bigger picture.
They have to have a plan. They've brought him in. They've got an idea. If we maybe just not jump on the B word very quickly, they might see that idea through. We might see where they're going with it. But if we get too negative on Twitter, or we kind of get too passionate about the wrestler we like getting dispatched so quickly or whatever, then it's sort of like, oh God, we best quickly change something. And I wonder how many storylines we've lost through the years to fan backlash, potentially good ones as well, when it was just like, oh, they just weren't ready to wait. They weren't going to wait for it. It's like, I dare like to bet there's been some gold that's just lost forever.
So yeah, because I remember speaking to Dragon Izu, Cultaholic Wrestling podcast legend Dragon Izu, and he was like, just calm down, man. They've done it to make a quick headline, and then we'll see it play out down the line. And you get to WrestleMania 33, and they did so. But it's weird because then you think, oh, let's put some faith in the company, and then Saudi Arabia with Goldberg and Wyatt happens.
And then let's put some faith in the company, and then just straight up Saudi Arabia happens. It's like, okay, right, well, this is fun. Yeah,
it's a hard thing.
Politically brilliant.
It's a hard thing, but if you can just back off a bit and just let things play out, good on you. If you haven't got that patience, I don't know what to suggest.
I mean, it does try your patience at times, though, doesn't it? There are times where it's just unavoidable. You just fly into a rage, and it's like, why? Like, one of the things that really did my head in for ages was Dirty Dogs. Like, just Rude and Ziggler, just call them the Dirty Dogs. They're wearing merch that says Dirty Dogs. They're
slimy as well.
And then he starts calling them Top Dogs, and it's like, what? Like, what are we doing?
And then they don't get their own merch until very recently.
Yeah.
I do like the Dirty Dogs. I wish I'm like that when I'm 40 years old anyway. But then we're going to see the word buried down in hell forevermore, to rot for the rest of eternity. Sam, what's your fifth and final offering, please?
My final offering is something near and dear to my heart. Ross, I have a lot of crap in my flat. I collect things. I'm a collector of memorabilia and merchandise of things I like. If I see something cool, I'll pick it up. I hate And I hate them. I hate memorabilia hawks. I hate them. The people that I don't know how much it happens these days, but people who go to airports with 40 Funko Pops and go, "Hiya, Zack Ryder, can you sign these for us, please? They're all for me." And it's like they sell them straight on eBay. And it's extortionate prices. And it's like predatory because then somebody who's a big Zack Ryder fan wants it. And then they'll charge them out the arse. And at the same time, it sort of takes away the special feeling of getting something like that signed. And, people get them for gifts and stuff, which is, sometimes they're buying things way above the price they should maybe be paying for them. But it's the rudeness of, like, wrestlers travel so much. I couldn't dream of going up to somebody in an airport and being like, "Hiya, can you sign me Braun Strowman top, please, Mr. Braun Strowman?" And it's like, they're off the clock. Like, if you can kind of harangue them for a picture, fine. But I wouldn't be like busting out a bag full of stuff and going, "Hey!" There was a guy recently went to Rey Mysterio's house. To his house.
I saw that. That's incredible.
With a car boot or what do they call it in America? Trunk.
Trunk, that's the one, yeah.
Look in the tunk.
Donald Trump.
But yeah, so he went and his trunk was just full of merch. Rey merch. Belts, everything. Figures, t-shirts. And he just went up. And I think he knocked on the door, and then out came Rey to sign them. It's like, how terrifying must that be? Because I'm assuming that it's not somebody that Rey knew or anything like that.
No.
Like, I'm assuming it's just some rando who came up on the street and just was like, "Right, there's his address. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to get him to sign all this stuff." You would just be like, "I don't know how you found my address. There you go. Get the hell out of here." But, like, the fact that it was just, how brazen.
I could never imagine doing that. It's like sometimes, like I think back to we saw Bayley in the bar at the hotel back at WrestleMania 33, and she was sat there having a beer, and I was thinking, just let her have a beer. Yeah. And then when she's leaving, go, "Oh, Bayley, would you mind if I grab a quick picture?" I think that's fine. It's these people, as you say, they go and wait at the airport for hours. They go and wait at the hotel for hours.
Hassle.
These wrestlers have like wrestled potentially for half an hour. They're broken down and just want to go to bed.
Do you remember when we were in Dallas and we saw Terry Funk? And Terry Funk was just having his tea, right? He was just having his tea. And we were like, kind of just sat and it's like, we're not going to disturb Terry Funk while he's eating a burger. He was just sat chilling, eating a burger. And then it was like, we've got to go. And it was like, "Really sorry to do this. Can we get a picture?" And I think like we got a quick picture with him and that was it. But he had more than enough time for us. But I still felt terrible. So adding, "Can you sign this?" Especially when it's not for you. If it's for you, I kind of, it's one of those awkward things, but if you really want something signing, then you have to go and explain that to them and hope that they will sign it for you. But if you turn up with 40 t-shirts, get in the bin. Yeah. Like, you are just
scum.
Yeah, taking the mick, man.
Yeah.
Just taking the mick. I don't know how much it happens these days. I think the most recent one was that Rey situation. But I mean, the famous photo of Sasha Banks in the airport that Big E made into socks. Like, people just hassling them. And it's like they're different to who they are on TV. Like, they're tired like you are. They get fed up with travel. Like we all do.
Yeah.
They have a lot of stress with work like we all do. And I'm sure they love meeting people and they love engaging with people, but maybe not at like 2 a.m. at an airport layover where they're stuck because their plane's delayed and they can't get any food. And they're barely able to get a coffee. And
especially when it like doesn't really benefit them at all. It's clearly all just for someone else's.
That's it.
Like,
I think that's what I think is like. It's say if you went up to them with one thing and you were like, "It would mean the world to me if you signed this."
Yeah.
Like I understand if not, but it would mean the world to me. I'm sure they would be lovely.
Potentially like a once in a lifetime opportunity. That.
Yeah, but then when you've got, and that's it, you should take it. If it's for you and it's personal, yeah, I think you should go up there and you should maybe ask. And that's the worst they can say is no.
Be polite as well.
Yeah,
though.
and be polite. Yeah, don't just go and be like, "Sign this." But yeah, when you see people with duffel bags just full of figures, and it's like sign in, various coloured pens as if they're going to auction them off like for more money. Like it blows my mind. Yeah. Blows my mind. I don't get how people can be so rude.
I saw an interesting thing on Twitter recently. It was Corey Graves saying to a fan, "It's all right to come up to us, but don't like approach us in the middle of a meal." Which I was thinking, fair enough. In the middle of a meal must be a bit of a piss take. But then Kevin Nash just completely schooled Corey Graves when he said, "Corey, it takes a second to just take the picture, or whatever, but it takes a whole lot longer to explain why it's wrong what they've done there." And I was thinking, bloody hell. I aspire to be Kevin Nash.
This is it. Like, it's that kind of situation where I feel most people in that sphere must feel that way. Where it's like, you know, to you it's a second, to them it's potentially their lifetime. Like, you know, they're going to remember when they met Kevin Nash because he was nice enough to take a picture with them. They're going to remember that he said something nice about their shirt or that he cracked a joke. They're going to remember that forever, and it's going to stay with them. But if you're rude to them, then maybe not. Or if, you know, I don't know. It's one of those fine lines as well, isn't it? Because, you know, people can be... You can catch them at a bad time and they may come off as rude even though they didn't mean to be, or they may, you know, they may have said something they didn't mean to say that offended you, or there's so many different things that can go into an encounter with, you know, a celebrity or a fan or whatever, I imagine. But, you know, you just got to be polite. That's all you've got to, at the very least, be polite. And if they say no, then, well, there's always next time, isn't there?
That was the main thing. We used to do those meet and greets back in the day, and that was the main thing. I just because I never liked doing them because obviously when I was, you know, back in the day, I was very
Well,
and then me in real life, I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I'm very shy and I'm very subdued.
Two sides of a coin.
People were expecting like when they go and meet me, and I'm like,
hello.
I kind of do that, and then they go away from that thinking, oh,
Not in like a cavernous, empty venue either,
Yeah.
because that would just echo around.
yeah,
like,
and they go away thinking, oh, that was quite disappointing. That so I was
Yeah.
like, I'd rather just not do them anymore. So it must be hard for like just to put yourself in the wrestler's perspective for a second.
yeah,
like,
because
to-
they're properly famous. They're
Yeah.
like in huge public sphere, and they must be doing so much on top of their work anyway.
Yeah.
And then like to worry about, you know, letting people down like that, or to just be caught in a wrong moment where you just say, oh no, just go away. Like, that's going to haunt you, surely. Like, and it's going to stick with that person as well.
It felt wrong to mention me in that same breath as the wrestlers there, but if you did meet me in a meet and greet back in the day and you came away disappointed because I wasn't very boisterous, I'm sorry, but you met the real me that day, not the character.
I've had this recently, like, doing interviews and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, spoke to Ross. Just not what I was expecting. It's like, yeah, he's very, very reserved, very polite, very just straightforward guy. And it's like, I just figured he'd be louder. It's like, no, that's a character.
That's a decision
that's
I
Ross
made.
the character.
If I was to
versus Ross the person.
sit there and be Ross the person, no one would be interested in me. That's what I've
This
worked
is
out.
kind of this is why I'm having to try and do more and get a bit more animated with my voiceover, because I've got quite a flat voice, and it works well for narration for documentary stuff, but you know, documentary stuff doesn't exactly pay the bills, so I need to be able to be bigger and more entertaining, and I've got to learn how to do it. And I'm sort of going through that same thing now, where it's like I need to make that conscious choice. I need to be bigger. I need to be, you know, properly all over it, and then in my private life I can just be nice and chill because I've got out all of that. And that must feel so relieving for you in times. It must be stressful, but like, you must be able to just go to work, rant and rave and do whatever in front of a camera, and it's like,
It's a nice stress
just
reliever
like
at times.
peaceful. Yeah,
It's like you feel like any aggression out that you've got from some other part of your life,
Just
and then
swinging
just
your arms around.
shout at Richard behind the camera there for a couple of hours, and then that's it. But there we go.
Yeah,
Hawks, we're gonna go with.
memorabilia
Is
hawks.
that the official term? Is
I
it?
don't. I'm just trying to think of what I'd call them. But they seem like, the type of people that swoop in and you know, they're opportunistic. Sign these 20 T-shirts.
It does.
Dawn
it is
Marie,
fun.
do it.
Just
Sign
so I
them,
can make
Tommy
$100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible, isn't it?
Yeah,
There we go. I think we've reached the end.
I think we have. Yeah.
Emotional. Any closing remarks before
No,
we
it's
bugger
been
off?
lovely. This.
Aye.
Been absolutely lovely.
The start portion went on for a bit. I'm sorry about
No,
that.
it's all right, mate. Don't worry about it.
Anything you want to plug down the camera? Where do you work?
I work at Cultaholic. You're watching the channel right now. If you could just do us the favor and just click the little subscribe button if you haven't already, though, that'd be amazing, because you know, it's just common decency, isn't it? You don't want to be one of those fans at an airport that just swings in and just watches and does what they want, do you? No, you got to subscribe. You've got to subscribe.
And if you have already hit the subscription button, please leave a comment. Nice or bad, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Just leave a nice comment. You know, share the video as well if you want. And then, you know, just do other things as well. Like the video. Just any sort of interaction with the video below is very much appreciated, because that's how YouTube works. Thank you. He's been Sam. I've been Ross. Please just click all the buttons down below.
Yeah, click them all.
Yeah,
Don't
just
click the
them all.
report one, for the love of God.
A soulless, gutless game, YouTube, these days. Just click all the buttons. That's all the thing that's important to us. Thank you very
Not
much
the
for your
down
time.
one and not the bad one.
Oh, yeah,
just the good ones. Just the good ones.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We all love you. He's been Sam. I've been Ross. Toodle pip.
Tatty bye. He's been Ross. I've been
He's
Sam.
been Sam.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Remember the buttons.